As we think about healthcare workforce technology and the trends we're seeing or things you're excited about in the future, what are some new and interesting innovations? I know you mentioned digital experience. Like, what do you see happening in that space, or even in, around leveraging AI in scheduling and vendor management solutions? Like, how should you think about, or how should we think about what to expect in the future?
Yeah, so I was talking about this to someone not too long ago, right? So I think there's 4 categories when it comes to workforce management, workforce technology solutions in the human capital space. The first one is automation. Second one is digital. Third is virtual. And then the fourth is artificial intelligence, right? And so when you think about automation, it's integrate, right? And so these days, the ability to integrate with various platforms is not that complex. When you're dealing with patient systems and HL7, that's complex. When you're dealing with APIs in most of the technology partners that you do today, they can either do it for you or you can do it yourself with a lot of the different technology solutions. So it's about automation, right? And go on to the days of the swivel chair. So how do we make investments in automation to improve process? The second one is, as I mentioned, digital experience, right? Your employees are so critical. And when I talk about employees, it's not just your full-time employees. In the healthcare settings, you have a lot of full-time employees, but you also have a lot of part-time employees. Right. You have a lot of contingent labor, potentially gig labor. And then you've got physicians, right? And physicians typically aren't necessarily employed by the hospital. They're employed by a physician services group, maybe owned by the hospital. But, how do you think about each one of those personas and create a digital experience for them, whether that's my shifts, when is my shift? How do I change shifts? How do I swap shifts? To my payroll, when did I get paid? Am I getting paid? As more and more folks want to move to daily pay, they want to know that that's happening. And so how do I create a digital experience like, your American Airlines type of situation, or your Travelocity, et cetera? And so how do I kind of bring that to the table and provide that? And I think so more and more emphasis on digital, that experience. I think the third thing is virtual, right? So as more and more of the care settings start to become virtual, you're going to have to think about maybe task-based workforce management, right? And so how do I think about some of the virtual capabilities, and how does that sort of get integrated into the solutions that we're offering? And then last but not least, of course, is artificial intelligence. And so, there's lots of opportunities for AI. And that's from the recruiting aspect. How do I use AI as part of my recruiting? You're never going to take the human out of the loop, but there are aspects of artificial intelligence that's going to be able to help you categorize and streamline processes, whether that's in the traditional sense of maybe generative AI, or even machine learning and doing predictive. You mentioned scheduling. How can I use, how does my scheduling bring advanced predictive analytics to the table so I can forecast better? How does those forecasts impact budgets, so I can predict what my budgets are going to be, and where can I apply those capabilities? To generative AI, to then what we're talking about is agentic AI. So how do we use AI agents to help through the workflow and streamline it? And so you're seeing investments in Salesforce with Agentforce. You're seeing investments with Workday. Oracle has got their agents capability. So all of the technology solutions are bringing out AI agents and those types of capabilities. And you want it too. Now, of course, you've got to manage that from a security aspect. So I think that if you kind of focus your strategy pieces in those 4 areas, you'll do great. Of course, all of those things require solid data, so you have to have a foundation in place. So if you're starting to say, I want to start implementing advanced AI recruiting capabilities, but you don't have solid data to do that, or if you're trying to sort of use advanced AI and analytics for predictability on your resources and you don't have data on that, you're just going to fail, right? And so make sure that, again, coming back to the strategy, how do I make sure I have a core capability in place first and then launch off of that?
Right. Well, and ultimately it seems like, the 4 themes are, at the end of the day, the outcome is to remove administrative tasks from providers and allow them to spend more time at the bedside, right? I mean, a lot of these are just removing some of that, the extra.
It's removing the barriers to everything, right?
Right.
It's not just getting the patient, the workforce to the clinic, to the patient on time. It's getting them there in a happy state, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's like if you have a poor experience coming to work because someone canceled a shift and you all of a sudden got pushed to a shift, or you didn't get paid correctly and you're trying to chase down the HR service center to find out why your pay didn't get correct.
Or you missed your start, that you were supposed to start your new job and your credentialing didn't get finished
correct.
on time.
You didn't have your credential, or you needed a credential renewed, right? You shouldn't have been working the shift because your credentials have failed, right? Those are the things that, create an unhappy employee, and an unhappy employee typically is gonna come across to a patient, right? And whether they want to or mean to or not, that's gonna happen. It's just human nature. And so I think while it's important for us to improve process, it's also about making sure that you're creating a great experience for that team member, so that when they show up next to that bedside, they've got one focus, that's patient care.